With XDC as of right now being at around 3 cents again, a lot of people have been asking me, is it cooked? Well, personally, I don't think so, which may sound kind of bizarre, but I'll explain my rationale in today's video, even though nothing I say is financial advice and even though I am not telling anyone to do anything. Now, here's the thing. First of all, at around 3 cents, what that means is that XDC in 2026 is basically at levels that we once saw back in March of 2021. And I'm not joking, that literally is the case, which may sound very alarming, like, wow, we're seeing 2021 levels, but in 2026. I'm totally aware of that. But here's also my perspective. XDC, I feel like became a lot better when compared to 2021, yet the price is back at that point again, basically in early 2021 levels. This may sound kind of bizarre because in real life, usually if things become better, it doesn't become cheaper. But in this space, sometimes that kind of is the case, which I don't mind though, because if something that I do like actually became lower, I'm not going to complain about a hypothetical discount. That's my thing. Now, am I just going to believe in this 100%? No. I'm just dollar cost averaging once a month for the projects that I'm a fan of, and that's it. I don't have to do it, but it's purely voluntary when it comes to me. Do I know when the market is going to take off? No, I don't. But one thing I do know, though, is that I can control my patience, and I'm willing to wait for years. If my mindset is, oh, you know, what's going to happen next week or in the next month, I wouldn't be in this space. It's just too unstable. But because my mindset is years, these movements one day, it's going to become a little bit irrelevant moving forward because the way I take a look at it was, you know, for instance, Luna, when that had that crash, sure, it was a bad thing, you know, at the time, but as of right now, people kind of forgot about that and they seemingly like it as a project. You know what I mean? Also, for instance, take a look at, let's say in the case of Bitcoin, 10 years ago, 12 years ago. Sure, it wasn't doing that good compared to right now, despite Bitcoin being below 70 grand, but I'm saying back then, you know, people didn't really care, oh, did they acquire it at this point, at that point? After some time has passed by, that became kind of negligible. So I kind of view it no different here. I think all of this right here, moving forward, it's just going to be background noise to me anyways, because I am willing to wait for years. And we have to consider XDC is one of the most popular projects out there that's focused on global trade and finance. What's number one and number two when it comes to this space in terms of global trade and finance? It's Ripple and Stellar. XDC, some people would arguably say it's top 4 or not even top 3 in terms of popularity, which may sound kind of hard to believe because XDC is not doing the best, but that actually is hypothetically the case according to some people because, you know, if we take a look at Ripple and Stellar, you know, who's the kind of number 3? Some people would probably say maybe it's Canton, but also there's XDC right there. And keep in mind, XDC, some people like to say, oh, it can't compete with Stellar or Ripple. But why not though? Ripple and Stellar, what do people often care about when it comes to them? Amongst other things, but what is something that people often care about? It's an aspect of ISO 20022, right? And XDC, guess what? It also has an aspect of ISO 20022. Now the thing is this, a lot of people oftentimes like to mention this, but they don't really explain what it's all about. That's the thing. So I'm going to explain it to the best of my capabilities in the most simple way possible. If we take a look at ISO 20022, that is currently being used by many financial institutions from all around the world for something called inter-organizational data exchange. And guess what? XDC has an aspect of ISO 20022. Is it the only project out there that has that? Absolutely not. A lot of other projects do. Not too many, but a lot do. But I'm saying at least XDC has that. So sometimes people confuse the fact that, oh, XDC, it's not popular, that means it can't compete with Stellar or Ripple. I hypothetically disagree with that from a fundamental standpoint of view. Because something being unpopular does not mean that it lacks the fundamentals, if that makes sense, right? Because XDC, the fundamentals aren't that bad. It's just not as popular as Stellar or Ripple. Nor does it need to. It doesn't need to ever become that popular. Let me explain why. Because if we take a look at XDC, right, we will see that, for instance, back in January of last year, the market cap was around 2 billion. What's the market cap as of right now when it comes to XDC? It's around 600 million. So clearly, we are over 3 times lower than where we once were in January of 2025. That's no secret. We can see that when it comes to the charts. But here's the thing. If XDC could just go back to that, I don't even need an altcoin season anymore. And the reason why is because, for instance, in the case of Bitcoin, that is not over 3 times lower than its all-time high, let alone when compared to January of 2025. But you know what is over 3 times lower than January of 2025? It's XDC. Now, a lot of other projects are as well in that same position, but XDC is, right? It's over 3 times lower than where it once was back in, January of 2025. And we got to think about this. In January of 2025, was XDC doing better than XLM, for instance? No, it wasn't. But again, XDC, just going back to that point, already feels like a, I guess, celebration for me. If it could even do that, we'll wait and see. But my case is that I just don't think XDC needs to overtake Stellar or Ripple, because going back to January of 2025 levels, it'd already be so fantastic. But even back in January of 2025, it wasn't overtaking, right? It wasn't like, defeating Stellar or Ripple. It just wasn't. So it never needs to overtake them, in my opinion. It just goes back to January of last year levels. I'm already going to Sizzler. You know what I mean? Like Sizzler, the restaurant. It's already time for me to kind of go to the restaurant. Now, it's just a figure of speech. It's just to kind of showcase a moment of celebration. But yeah, besides that point, XDC, fundamentally, keep in mind, this as a project fundamentally is not broken. That's the thing. It's not like it became bad fundamentally. That's not the case. If anything, the fundamentals are better than, years before. And at the same time, it's improved by a whole lot. The only thing that's down as of right now is the price. That's it. But that could be said for a bunch of other projects out there. Bitcoin's down, Ethereum's down, Solana's down, BNB is down. It's not only this. That's the thing. So yeah, sure, the price is doing bad, but the fundamentals are not. And what is going to allow a project to survive a market downturn? What's going to allow for a project to actually make it through when the market isn't doing the best? It's strong and sustainable fundamentals, in my opinion. And as long as the fundamentals are there, you know what? I have no concerns. That's the thing. As long as the fundamentals and use case are still solid, you know what? The market could do bad for a year or 2 years or 3 years or whatever. It's not a concern for me, because usually good projects, the ones that actually have utility, the ones that actually have a use case and have good fundamentals, they typically are able to make it through. Typically. It doesn't always happen, but typically, right? From what I've seen historically. And for the people out there that say, oh wow, XDC is so cooked and all this, keep in mind, did you know that it's currently ranked 71st in the world in terms of market cap when it comes to this space? So it's still a top 100 project. Keep in mind, it's not like this just disappeared and just became really irrelevant like that. That's not the case. It's literally still top 100. And here's the thing. With XDC being over 3 times lower than January of last year, some people out there like to tell me, oh, why don't you believe in a microcap instead? Now, here's my rebuttal, right? Here's my kind of argument against that. If all I cared about was a hypothetical 3 times movement for whatever reason, I don't know why I would care about a microcap. There's many projects out there in the top 100 that are around 3 times lower than where they once were last year. I don't need to be looking for that through a microcap. That's the thing. There's plenty of projects in the top 100 that are around 3 times lower than where they just once were last year. That's the thing. Even though I'm not telling anyone to do anything, I just don't know why I need to believe in a microcap for a hypothetical 3 times movement. You know what I mean? But I'm not telling anyone to do anything. Again, this is just my perspective. And let me just give an analogy as to what I mean by this. It's like, for instance, could I climb a mountain, melt some ice, and try to get water? I could do that, but that's a very difficult path for me. That's like me, the equivalent of believing in a microcap just for a hypothetical 3 times movement. For what? I don't need to do that. I could just get water from the tap. I could just get water from the grocery store. That's like a top 100 project personally for me. You know what I mean? Like, I can either get water from the tap or the top of a mountain. Both are water at the end of the day. It's just one is a very difficult path, the other one is a more convenient path. I'm all about taking the hypothetical path of least resistance. That's the thing. So again, that's a major reason why I don't care about microcaps. But that is just my mindset as of right now. Personally, I'll never be able to know when the market could recover, because what am I going to do? Pull up a price chart, draw some random triangles? That's not going to do anything. That's not going to solve anything. Do you think the market's going to care about what I have to do? No. So I don't want to do that. I'd rather just prepare and wait. in case something maybe were to happen. I don't know. I mean, it really depends. I can't control the market. But one thing I do know, though, is that I'm just waiting, and that's it. It's like, for instance, in real life, generally speaking, I prefer to anticipate as opposed to chase. It's like Amazon. It was waiting right there. So when that e-commerce wave really kicked in, it was waiting right there. I didn't have to chase later on. That's just kind of my mindset. So again, I'm just waiting. That's about it, but I am not telling anyone to anything, but I'll be sure to make more updates moving forward when it comes to XDC. So I just want to say thank you so much for watching.